Hello, greetings from a distance. My name is Lauren Behrens. Used to be Cumming, now it is Behrens, and I'm a 2013 graduate of Bethel University's Environmental Science and Biology programs. I'm really disappointed that I can't be with you all today. I was so looking forward to visiting Bethel together and seeing all the progress and celebrating, but unfortunately, I tested positive for COVID on Thursday night. So I'm doing what I can to protect other people right now, and the rest of my family is doing the same. That means I'm recording this from my isolation room, which is my bedroom. And you'll also have a chance to hear from my husband, who will be recording from another floor of our house. While I'm unable to be with you in person, I am truly honored to have the opportunity to share a little bit about my experience as part of Bethel's environmental science and bio programs, as well as the impact that it has had on me professionally and personally. Dr. Peterson played a large role in facilitating the experience that we had and the preparation that we carried forward with us into the world after college. It's really exciting to be able to take a moment to celebrate him and everything that he's given to the university as well. So a little bit about me, kind of where I come from. I grew up in the area. I attended college at UW-Madison my freshman year of college, and then eventually transferred to Bethel as a sophomore. When I entered Bethel, I still did not know what I wanted to study. I knew I had an interest in sciences, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to go a medical route or a different direction, so I was taking some entry-level science courses that year. There were a few reasons that I ended up following the environmental science track. First, learning about the intricacies of the world around us, the intricacies of God's design from an analytical perspective fascinated me. I attended public school my entire life, including the first year of college where I took science courses as well. And taking science classes at Bethel was the first time that my faith was integrated with progressive science, and it was very exciting. Second, taking lab science courses that did not require labs in labs. That was a hook for me. Yes, I'm a science person. No, I'm not an indoor lab person. So I discovered that was a great balance, and it was something that felt like it fit me personally. And third, Dr. Peterson and the rest of the staff in the department as well, they modeled in a really inspiring way how your faith and passion can drive learning and a career in a field that is seemingly entirely disconnected from your faith. In the rest of the world, typically those things are viewed as separate, and this was my first opportunity that I got to see individuals that were truly passionate and at the front of their field, but that passion came from a place of faith. Attending lecture and completing labs out in the field at Bethel, some of those early classes, it felt the way that learning had to me up until that point in my life, except it was obvious it was coming from a deeper place, a deeper sense of service. It didn't need to be spoken, it was just present, and that really made a difference. Also, Dr. Peterson is hilarious, so that helped too. I also happened to meet my now husband in the environmental science program at Bethel. At the time, neither of us were looking for or interested in a relationship in any way, and were entirely content with our lives at the time. But after classes together, many classes together, yes, the program was not that big, and a lot of his help in GIS, which was not my forte, we started a relationship. Not after a good amount of consideration, however, knowing that we were two of about 7 of that graduating class. We did get married a couple years after graduating college, and we have a smart and hilarious 2.5-year-old daughter and a son who's actually due in a couple of months. So after these early experiences in the department, kind of that first impact that it had on me as something that was different, and the modeling that the staff did and Dr. Peterson did as a different way to approach this learning and this science, I decided to declare environmental science as my major and move forward in the program. As my learning and progress continued, I started to think more about what this might prepare me for in the world outside of Bethel. At this point, again, I really didn't have much of an idea. I knew that I was probably qualified to work in a research field, but it didn't feel like the best professional fit for me as a person. What my interest really came down to after a lot of thought and a lot of discussion was the basic idea of connectedness and humanity's relationship with our environment. It was this realization that developed into my senior research project. I conducted multiple surveys of entry-level environmental science courses at Bethel, and I was looking to collect data in two areas: cognitive gains, so what are students learning and retaining, and changes in attitude or perspective. Does taking this course change your perspective when it comes to our relationship with the environment, which at the base of it is really the point. Is it going to impact the way that we are living and the way that we make our decisions as an individual and as a community? These two questions, I didn't know it at the time, but would become entirely central to my professional career moving forward. After graduating from Bethel, I worked for a few years in a couple different environmental education programs. They were great programs. They typically served groups of students on day trips or field trips or summer camps or other short-term learning experiences. And while I loved what I was doing and I believed fully in it, it also reminded me on a daily basis that true impact comes from relationship. And deep relationships, the ones that are the most impactful, come from time together. It was then that I decided to go back to graduate school and get my master's in elementary education license. After working in the special education field for about 4 years at the beginning of my career, I now teach 5th grade at Parkview Elementary, which is an elementary school in Rosemount. It's right on the border of Rosemount, Apple Valley, Burnsville. And I find every single day when I walk through the doors that what I'm doing is driven by those same two questions that came up all the time in my education. What are we learning and retaining? And how does this experience change our perspective or our attitude toward the way that we live in the environment and community around us? I would like to highlight a few aspects of specifically Dr. Peterson's leadership that I find myself referencing as an educator today. The first is the idea of the inquiry process. It's a hot button. It's a buzzword right now, especially if you work in the education field, elementary education particularly. The state of Minnesota is currently developing new science standards, and the approach is essentially coming out of this one idea, the inquiry process. The science courses that I took at Bethel helped me understand how the study of something intricate, information-heavy, data-driven can still be centered in a single concept and process. And especially as I'm working with younger students, my 5th grade class, to explore the scientific method and the field of science, it's really important to have that central concept, to have that process be the focus of what we're doing and not necessarily the content. Especially at the age of 10 or 11, which is the age of students I work with, I don't expect and I don't really care if they take the information forward with them. What I want them to have and to take with them is an experience that they remember that was based on the scientific method. This process of asking a question, being genuinely curious, and then figuring out a way that we can learn more about it. The second is high expectations. I did my fair share of messing around in college. I was a good student. I would describe myself as a good student, but yeah, I'll be realistic. I struggled to balance different areas of my life at times, and at times there were plenty of assignments or tasks that I just completely forgot to do. Dr. Peterson never let me off the hook. He never lowered his expectations for me, but he did so with grace, and he did so in a way that communicated his faith in me as a student. That made an impact on me, and it's something that I try to model every day with my 5th graders as well. Third would be facilitating alternative learning experiences. One of the most memorable experiences of my entire college career was a trip to Nebraska that Dr. P planned and guided us on. You might be thinking, Nebraska. But let me assure you, after that trip, I have since become one of Nebraska's greatest advocates anytime somebody raises an eyebrow or shows hesitation in it potentially being a place you would want to visit. We got to ride on picnic tables that were strapped in the beds of pickup trucks through herds of bison. We visited the Niobrara River Valley and the unique ecosystems that exist in that area where they all kind of come together on the north and south parts of the river. We got to see the sandhill crane migration and listen to thousands and thousands of birds at the same time. It really was incredibly impactful, and no amount of teaching in the classroom can impact a learner the way an experience like that does. So it's something that I continually find myself referencing as a teacher now. I have the opportunity to meet with 28 11-year-olds every single day, and we have a beautiful and messy and amazing and challenging community established within our classroom. I know that that's impactful, but what else can I offer them? What else can we set up for them that's going to stand out and really impact them as an individual and be something that sets that year or that learning apart as they move forward? The last thing that I want to share about Dr. Peterson that stands out and was the first thing that came to mind when I thought about him as an educator and just as a person is the idea of quiet, passion-driven service. He embodies that idea. I'm not saying that he's always quiet. If you get him going on an environmental issue, you will see that. It's quite clear. What I mean is he is sensitive, he's approachable, he's humble, and he showed up to serve us in that way every single day as we were learning as his students. That's something that made an impact on me and something that I hope to carry forward and model as well. Bethel is lucky to have had Dr. P as a major piece of their program. I know that his influence will continue to influence others over time through all of those students that he has taught and the impact that he's had on them. We wish you the very best in your retirement. Hope that you have a chance to do something different, something that feels restful, something that feels exciting, and want to thank you again for asking us to share. And just for the impact that you've had on us as individuals and as the community of Bethel. I hope you all have a wonderful time celebrating tonight. Congratulations to the upcoming graduating seniors as well. And the last thing I wanted to mention is if I happen to find the notebook in which I recorded all of the funny things that Dr. Peterson said during his lectures and classes, I will be sure to send a copy out. Thanks again for having me, and Kevin as well. And I hope you all have a wonderful time tonight.